Hello and welcome back to OACRL, and at this time we are going around the wonderful circuit known as Spa, not Spain, because this past week I have called Spain Spa and I really don't want to start calling Spa Spain. As we now reach the last few minutes here in qualifying, if we take a quick look at the grid, we've got Fried Bert, Lord Bill, Dig Josh, Staley, Jackie Boy, and Noah as our current, as we catch a bit of a spin there, as our current drivers for this evening, with Jackie Boy and Noah still yet to, I believe, set a time. I don't think Jackie Boy has come out of that pit lane. Now, when I look at this track, I think of it looking a bit like a drill. But if you're one of my American friends, I won't say it out loud. It looks a bit like, well, now I'll say it anyway. But according to Rekis, it reminds him of a gun. And it was a very funny conversation because he started it off going, "This may be the most American thing you've heard, but Spa looks a bit like a gun." And that was a bit funny that I found. Who have we got out? We have got, I think, a new member on the grid. I haven't seen him before, and goes wide into the corner and resets into the garage, so we'll find someone else to have a look at as they're coming through corners 16 and 17, heading into 18 and 19, that final very kind of annoying chicane, to head down the mini straight very nicely through there, and across the line he goes. We have Huni just coming up through that very fast curve. No, sorry, coming up, and that is qualifying done and dusted, as we now wait for all the drivers to finish, and then we'll jump straight in to race 1. Fuck off. Yeah. As we do watch Noah go through into corner 10 and 11 quite well in an F1 car, very sweepy and very fast. But this will be my first time commentating around Spa. That isn't F1, this is ACC. So we will see how different it is, because some corners are different depending on what car you drive down. as we are now waiting. There we go. The session has finally ended, as we'll now wait for the grid to load up into the first out of 2 races here this evening, or this afternoon, or the morning, depending where you are watching this from.
20 seconds. 10 seconds.
You wait for the start. Is this it could be an entire rolling lap due to the fact you can't really have a rolling start before the start line due to it being very close to that chicane. So we'll just watch them all as they go for their rolling start here tonight around Spa. Now, Spa does have some very nice corner names, which I don't want to pronounce because I will know I will get most of them wrong, except I think. And they have the green light, so we are now away and racing here for race 1. As I was saying, there are very few corner names I want to pronounce, so we will Fried Bert does a bit wide and gets damage already on his first lap here this evening, as the other cars seem to have had a nice start to the race, all following quite closely within each other, with the exception of Fried Bert and Noah, who are slightly further back, which had a slightly ruckus start. As we now watch him come through Speaker's Corner, also known as corner number 9 out of 19. Let's see if I can get this to work properly. There we go. I've got it. When I switch to this view, I have to be very careful because last week I think I did it too early, and unfortunately it did put me in a car, so I left the lobby and re-entered and all was well. As we do have Jackie Boy in the pits, not quite sure what is up with that. As the cars seem to be settling nicely, going around, I think that's corner 16 and 17, yep, coming into that chicane, which is also, the name of this corner is chicane, according to racing circuits, and racing circuits as a commentator is a godsend, because if it wasn't for that, I'm not quite sure how I would get a really nice map of the tracks I'm commentating as I go around the little, I want to call it hairpin. It may not quite classify as a hairpin, but it's sure a pretty tight corner as I go downhill into corners 2, 3 and 4 very fast and very sweeping, as Jay does spin out at the top there, as I think that's roughly where we saw Fried Bert spin out in the earlier stages of this race. As Dig Josh does currently have the fastest lap at 3 minutes 33 seconds, 0.855. Going through the field, you can see some of the cars already have maybe paintwork damage, but I don't think there's very many, except Fried Bert, which has body damage, although that damage looks to be mainly cosmetic, but we'll see if that affects anything over the course of this first race. As I want to say, I do believe that the cars will get unscratched and like rebuffed out for the next one. As we do have Friedbert and Shelley going at it, Friedbert goes around wide and gets that move done for the time being. And we'll see if that move sticks, as we still have Lord Bill in first place, with a little bit of a gap to Dig Josh, who is in second. And third, we have got Noah now coming across the line, having completed his second lap and going out on his third. This track is a longer track, so we will see less laps, as we are almost 5 minutes in and the drivers are only out on their third lap. So doing quick maths, that could be 3, 6. We could see about perhaps 10 to 12 laps of racing, depending on the pace of these drivers, and of course depending if they, spin, crash, anything else like that does happen. As we still do have Jackie Boy in the pits, whether he will come out and race later, we will find out. As the cars seem to have been pretty spread out for the time being, I don't think there are any cars relatively close to each other, but Friedbert does have Shelley to worry about, but that still is quite a fair way back, as we do have Dig Josh and Noah very close with each other. So we will watch these guys for a minute, as they seem to be one of the only few actually very close to each other here. They're going around, coming into that final chicane to finish their third lap and start their fourth lap. Goes nicely through the chicane, keeps it within the white lines, doesn't hit that red part of the chicane, which can launch the car a bit if you do hit it at the wrong angle. Maybe thinks about a move, doesn't do it. Do we see a dive on the inside? And we do, as Noah does overtake him for the time being, but that can very quickly change. And there are a few fun facts about this track. The original Spa circuit before 1979 was over apparently 14 kilometers long, using both public roads between villages. That's nearly about 3 lengths longer than today's circuit. The famous, I think it's Île Rouge, gets all the attention, but many drivers say other corners, like I think it's pronounced Puron or Blancmont, are just as challenging due to sustained high-speed cornering that is found a lot across this track. And as you may have noticed, this track, it goes through a forest slightly, but it also isn't flat. Like Qatar, I know, is flat from memory. I was about to say Monaco's relatively flat, but Monaco's got a downwards hairpin. But then you've got tracks like this and Monaco, and I think even the Red Bull Ring up in Austria do have those elevation changes, which does make a difference because higher you're up in F1, I mean higher you are, the different effects that it does have on that car. As we now come towards the half point of this race, and it looks like Noah has started to gap dig Josh. It's behind him as we have got Friedbert with quite a bit of damage with what it looks like coming into the pits. I have never seen a car. I've never seen a car purposefully drive into the pits. I've seen them reset to garage, but again, I haven't normally caught them. I've just noticed someone's in the pit lane. So we have a flick through the field at how the others are doing. We've still got Lord Bill now with the fastest lap with a 2:21.680 here. As we do have Friedbert now, I think, coming out of the pits. I am not quite sure what that one was about. As we do have Charlotte parked in the middle of a chicane. I'm not quite sure what was up there, but he's now back on track, ready. Sorry, that wasn't a chicane, but ready and racing. He was parked in somewhere between 5 and 7, obviously going out and doing corner 6 before then coming down into corner 7. So if we look through the field, the field is now quite spread out, so we do have 2 cars in the pits. As we will watch Stashi for a while as he comes around corner 14 and corner 15, coming into the very, what seems like it could be classified as a straight but isn't quite, going into corner 16 and through corner 17, getting ready to come into that final chicane, which is right before the line here at Spa. As we do have Shanghai into the pits as well. Not quite sure what is up, but we do think we have half of our field in the pits. As we will watch Noah for the time being as he comes around. Just figure out where that is on the track. Coming in now to corner 12 and corner 13. Like a beefed up chicane, almost not a chicane, it's too wide. Whoopsies. As we go back to Noah, he is now coming around 14 and around now corner 15. to head up into corner 16 and 17. As now he goes through that chicane, keeps it nicely, hits a red curb ever so slightly, but doesn't launch the car as he now completes his 6th lap, and now is the fastest lap of a 1:21.415. As we go find Lord Bill, who's just started his 7th lap, coming through corners 2, 3 and 4 down this straight. Coming around corner 5, corner 6 and corner 7, keeping it nicely, keeping it off the grass and out of the gravel, which is always nice to see. As we now watch him come up through 10 and 11. Wait. I may have just... don't know where he is at the moment. Oh, there we go, through corners 10 and 11, down into 12 and 13. Now heading down into corner 15 and then out of the slightly less aggressive corner 17. As we watch him come around 16, 17 to head in to that final set of corners, which is a chicane. As we now only have a few minutes here, so I don't think my guess of about 10 laps was quite correct. We might see Lord Bill get close to 10 laps as he is starting his 8th lap here. So we'll get about 10 laps a race, and that would average 2 minutes a lap. So we'll get just under 10 here this evening. Probably be, I reckon, about 9 laps of racing that these drivers can get in within that 20 minutes. As we do, looks like we only have one car left in the pits as Friedberg is back out and racing here at Spa. As we do, Lord Bill's still in the win. Shelley sitting in 4th, going nicely around through corners 12 and 13. No, corners 5, 6 and 7, going into corner 8 and then being greeted with the very abrupt, sharp corner of corner number 9. Running a wide, almost touches the gravel, I think that was, but keeps it off the gravel and keeps it off the grass. And the field is very, very spread out, as we have now got less than 1.5 minutes to go, as Lord Bill does complete that 8th lap,
Leader is on the final lap. Give it all you can.
as he is now on his final lap of the race. So when he crosses that finish line yet again, everyone else will have until they cross that line. So if you come in right behind him, that is your race done and dusted. But if you come in just in front of him, I believe you possibly get another lap. I am not quite sure how it entirely works, as Noah has the fastest lap of the race for the time being with a 1:21.450. Lord Bill goes through corners 5, 6 and corners 7. Friedberg has started his next lap, so this I think will be his final lap of race 1 here tonight, as Noah does seem to have gone a bit wide there through corners 5, 6 and 7. As we do have Lord Bill coming into corners 16 and corners 17, I believe, or make that corners 10 and corners 11, coming in to 12 and 13. As now he heads down into that corner 14 and through into corner 15. Getting ready to head up through sector 3 for the final time for race 1, and looks like we'll very comfortably take their lead here. And now coming up into that final corners of the, what Racing Circuits is telling me, it's called a chicane, which it is, as he comes across the line, and
Leader has finished the race.
that is his race done and dusted. And we'll see where P2 is at, if I can actually get to P2. There we go. Off a bit of side-by-side action there with Noah as they come through that final chicane, but Josh will cross the line first, very closely followed by Noah. Where's fourth? As now it comes through that final chicane, heading down across the line, we'll get P4, as we do have Friedberg now coming through that chicane and across the line. And that is race 1 done and dusted here, with, I'm pretty sure we just caught someone doing donuts in the background there as they are all mucking around post-race, as we wait for the second session or race here this evening to start.
20 seconds.
And I wonder if we'll see any difference or not. Will Friedberg get through the first lap without having a nice little spin? We will wait with him and we shall see. As now they are off and rolling, heading in towards that first corner before they start racing down that straight. And I'm going to wait for the green flag before I jump in to that second view, so I limit the amount of tech issues, as I have been hit by a bombardment of tech issues for my past few streams. And we have, we're waiting to get the green flag, and we have been given a, oh, and it looks like I think two people have gotten a drive through there at start, as it is a very, very punchy start, and 2 people do have a drive-through penalty. She'll have to serve within the next 3 laps. That is the first time that I have seen that happen for this game. As Noah Huni is now in the pits. As Lord Bill is now back in P1, which I think possibly starting in P2, but does have Fried Bert right behind him for comfort, as a bit of a spin there, bit of a tap from Fried Bert, and a little bit of spin by Lord Bill, so Fried Bert will now regain P1, having a much better start to the second race than his first. As we have one driver still to serve that drive-through penalty, which is Dig Josh, and will he serve it coming in to this lap? We shall find out and see. As he's coming up through that wall, and it's lots of spinning and lots of sliding there from Dig Josh this evening. As he is coming through to serve his drive-through penalty, as Frybert does have the fastest lap so far with a 30.4277, but that is also just the first lap. He was the first driver to cross the line, therefore by default does get that fastest lap, as we do have a nice little group of the top 3 here, all jostling for a nice position. As we... oh, not quite sure what happened there. And the drive-through for Dig Josh has now been cleared. As we do have Lord Bill in the pits, unsure as why, as now P1 will be... As Frydbert is still in that P1 position, obviously having a much better race than he did in race 1 out of 2. Shanghai Stahi is going through that chicane, getting ready to start lap 3, so about a third of the way through the laps. as we still have Lord Bill in the pits. I wonder if we'll see him come out slightly later on this afternoon here in race 2, as we have been racing for a quarter of the race so far, and last race I was pretty accurate with my guesses of about 10 laps, then realising it and changing it to 9. So we'll hopefully see about 9 laps done by at least, hopefully, Friedberg, as he is now on his 3rd lap, coming in to corners 9 and corners 10, I believe. Sorry, 10 and 11. My mistake. Coming in to corners 12, 13, and then heading down into corners 14 before jumping into sector 3 for the final 5 corners. Coming through that final chicane, and does get the new fastest lap of the race with a 2-minute 20.720. As we shyly come nicely through that chicane, starting that next lap. Looks like it may have a bit of spin as the delta pace is down by a bit. As we do have Lord Bill now back out and racing at Spa. So we look at the conditions of the cars. It looks like Friedberg's is very nicely, very clean. Then we've got the next driver in P2, I think may have a little bit of dirt there, but I can't quite tell as, oh no, it has a bit of a scrape there on that front left side. So has a little bit, but not much. As we go down to P3, the car looks like maybe it's a bit dirty, maybe it looks like it a bump and a smash into a wall here or there, as we have Jackie Boy who hasn't finished, and Lord Bill in P4 with a nice and shiny Mercedes AMG. Friedberg comes nicely around those few corners. With the gaps between these drivers spreading out quite a lot. We do have Shanghai coming back through that chicane once again to finish the 4th lap, cutting a bit too fine, going over that red part, which as you saw does unsettle the car quite a bit, and now it goes out for their 5th lap of racing. As we now, Jackie Boy, he's still yet to come out, and I don't think we will see him come out for either of the races, as we have now crossed the halfway point in race 2 here this evening. And I will flick through and we will choose Dig Josh to go around for a little bit, coming down that little main straight, coming into that quite tight corner 1. You want to go wide, then swing in, not swinging in too early, otherwise you could clip that wall, but if you swing in too late, you will muck up that corner. So you need to make sure you hit your braking point very nicely coming down the hill. And I think I read somewhere that Spa does have about 100 meters of elevation changes through the lap. As we now watch him come through into corners 5, 6 and 7, which kind of gives me a Temu chicane vibe. Not a real chicane, but it could be a real chicane if it was a lot smaller and a lot tighter. It's just like a knockoff version of a chicane. Friedbert is now very comfortably in the lead, going out on his 6th lap of racing, coming down that hill into the first few corners. Keeps it nicely, uses the curbs, keeps it off the grass, out of the gravel and the walls. As we do have Lord Bill, who isn't having the best of races, only on lap 4 here, as the fastest lap still belongs to Friedbert. I can't remember if it's changed, but it is now a 2:20.617 here this evening. Friedbert now goes out on his 7th lap here, so only has a handful of laps to go, as this is quite a long track. And in terms, I'm not quite sure what it is in this sort of racing, but in terms of F1, it is one of the longer tracks on the calendar. And I did make a mistake. Spa is the longest circuit on the 2026 F1 calendar, being about just over 7 kilometers long. It stands out 'cause it's about a kilometer more than more modern tracks, and because of its length it has a lot fewer laps. Something that can happen here is you can experience different weather in different parts of the track due to a lot of that elevation changes. As we now do have just under 5 minutes left here in race 2. Runs a bit wide through that corner. I'm not quite sure if that's gravel or grass. I still have not figured that one out here. As we now go through, I think, yep, that's corners 10 and corners 11, down into 12 and 13. As Friedberg off-rides that chicane, perhaps a bit too aggressively there, turning in, but goes perhaps a bit too wide on that exit, coming in to go out on his, I think it would be his second to last lap here this evening. Off as we see another car goes slightly wide, goes very close to that inside red, curving the second corner, so corner 19, but does keep it off and doesn't launch the car up into the air. As we have Lord Bill coming through, it's close. Oh, and it looks like we do have Friedbert coming in through corners 12 7, corners 5 through to 7, now coming into corners 9, slowly catching up to whatever car is currently ahead. Will he catch up before the end of the race? We will find out, but I don't think it is very likely given how little time is left. Now coming into corners 15, jumping from sector 2 to sector 3, then going through corner 15. Or have I got it I got it wrong again. Going through corners 9, 10, now going through 12 and 13. Now coming down into 14, where he'll jump from sector 2 to sector 3. And we'll go out through 15 and go up the stretch to 16 and through 17. As he does go a bit wider through that chicane, and I will wait for the game to give a yep, and he is on his final lap of racing here this evening as we approach that 1 minute mark left here. As we do have Lord Bill coming around into corners 5, 6 and 7. Coming through that, not quite what looks like a hairpin. As we do have Shelterpid starting that second lap. As we do have Friedbert, who won't catch, I think it is, who is in P5, won't catch Lord Bill, as we only have, I think, 4 drivers on the track, if I am not mistaken here. Friedbert coming through corners not 10 and corners 11. to come down into that Timu chicane of corners 12 and 13. We'll stay with Friedberg as he goes through corners 16 and corners 17 on his final lap, as the race is now well and truly over, and we will wait for him to finish the race now coming up through that final chicane, and he will cross the line and win race 2. A bit of a slide there at the last minute, but barely keeps it at the wall. And now we will wait. Charlie coming in through corner 16 and corner 17, now heading up into that chicane to cross the line in P2. As we do have Friedberg seemingly doing donuts. Well deserved after that win. As Dig Josh, I think, will be the next person to cross the line. Now just jumping into sector 3. Oof, goes a bit wide, a bit of, I'm not quite sure what's up, but does keep it out of the wall. Now coming up into that final chicane. Through that chicane nicely, perhaps could have cut a bit more, cuts a bit too much on that exit, does hit that red. Little bit of curbing, crosses the line into P3 as we wait for, I think, a Lord Bill now into sector 3 for the last time here this evening. Coming up into that chicane. And will cross the line. And that is the session ended. So that, I'm not quite sure what happened to half of the drivers. It could have left the session or something. But that is all from me this evening. So on behalf of OACRL, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you all next week for another race.